What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Daily Dime Friday edition. Got NFL playoffs starting tomorrow. We've got PGA going on, but of course, we also have, what is it, a 9-game slate tonight in the NBA, Zach?
Yeah, pretty much a full evening ahead of us here. So we've got lots of props to take a look at. Of course, some DFS conversations to have. A $3,500 Mike Conley on DraftKings is a big piece here tonight. So it's going to be a fun one. I see Ian in the chat saying, let me in. P Mike in here as well. Well, we're in here now, boys. So I know, look, man. Oh, what a tough break with the Fred VanVleet sitting out and Tari Eason playing last night. Amin Thompson still got there. I didn't think it was great for him that Fred went out, Alex, because good to see Debo in here as well. Fred going out put Jeff Green into the starting lineup and slid Amin Thompson to the 1. So it does not help. It did not help his double chances. He did still get us there on the back of another explosive second half on the glass and didn't lose time in the blowout. But Cam Whitmore suffered that because Tari Eason was back, and Tari Eason played so well down the stretch that he closed. And I see Preston popping up in the chat there. There's that. He's saying Keontae over 4.5 first quarter points. Boom. I do want to take a look at that. And we're going to take a look at a prop that Preston brought up 2 days ago as well as one of my favorites here this morning. And then P Mike in there saying he took Asar Thompson, steals, not rebounds. Don't make distracted picks, boys. And yeah, you can't be doing that. I did one myself last week where when I gave out some free throws props in the Discord, Alex, and I did higher when I meant to do lower, and it passed the cancel time the timer there.
Yeah.
So I did just put in the same entry with the proper picks, but yeah. That's a beating right there.
I did the steals instead of rebounds yesterday as well on Asar, and it was one of the first times. If you remember, like last week we had, might have been even 2 weeks ago now. Time all flies. Where we had DeJounte over first quarter rebounds and DeJounte steals or stocks, and like the steals or stocks was the way to go last night. The rebounds was the way to go. Sometimes it just happens, but remember that's going to happen when we're talking about picks that they're great if they're 60% likely to happen. That still means they're going to fail 40% of the time. So it's just part of the game.
Yeah, no question. And again, I know you're hopping on Sirius XM here in about 25 minutes. So let's go ahead and get to the picks. The first one I want to talk about here. Let's go to all reliable. How about DeJounte tonight against a very shorthanded Utah team? This is getting dangerously close to G League levels of talent out there for the Jazz here tonight, kind of across the board. But Underdog continues to give us this DeJounte Murray 1.5 steals prop. And this is the first place we look tonight with Zion back in the mix. Like, I do think that the rebound line for DeJounte over on Prize Picks is pretty advantageous, especially considering his projection here north of 8 rebounds in his 34 minutes this morning. So I think you can get that 5.5 over on Prize Picks. They may have taken it down and just put up a demon at 6.5. And Underdog here giving us sub 1 multiplier on his 5.5 rebounds, and then you got to ladder it all the way up to 7.5. They don't give you that 6.5 option. So they put the steals back on our menu here this morning. Again, I think for all the regulars in here, they don't need the full spiel from us on why we like DeJounte just in a vacuum on a game-to-game basis at this number. Maybe you have some matchup data against Utah here that will make this look even better.
Which team allows the most opponent steals per game? Utah. Sometimes it's that simple.
There you go. Let's keep it pushing here. I want to talk Daniel Gafford because Mavericks and Thunder here tonight. We know the Thunder shorthanded in the front court. No Chet still. No Isaiah Hartenstein. And coming here on the second end of the back-to-back, this is the only team on the slate we don't have an injury report for, are the Thunder. But the Dallas Mavericks on the other side, no Derek Lively here tonight, questionable Kyrie Irving. And we saw Daniel Gafford get up to 30 minutes last time out with no Derek Lively. We've got him projected for 28 minutes here against the Thunder tonight. And you take a look at that line on DraftKings Sportsbook. And the Thunder, 8-point road favorites here. So not a double-digit spread. So I'm not really running away from this in terms of potential blowout. The prop that I was on about 15 minutes ago before they changed it, my favorite was 21.5 points plus rebounds here. It was a 1x multiplier. Now that's up to 22.5 at 1.04x. At that point, I'm probably just thinking about 23.5 PRA and just get the potential assists in there as well. We've got him projected for near 2 assists. I think the points are also strong here. We've got him projected just above 16. But I think my favorite one here, and I do have the points and rebounds prop in some entries here this morning. Another one I'm cycling in is Daniel Gafford double-double. It's 1.48x here this morning. And now this has not been a strong prop on the course of this season. Daniel Gafford only 3 double-doubles so far this year. One of them was against Oklahoma City, though, back on November 17th. And that makes me, kind of jogs my memory. Like, we're thinking about the matchup here. Even with those centers in this year, this is still the second worst rebounding team in terms of opponent rebounds conceded in the league. Now we've got no Hartenstein. And so Jay Will's going to be out there. J-Dub, maybe Brandon Carlson. Okay. Daniel Gafford has a pretty great track record against this team, even going back to last season, because I mentioned the 11 points, 12 rebounds against them on November 17th of this year. That was in 18 minutes. And 3 meetings against this Thunder team last season. Of course, they had no Isaiah Hartenstein at that point, but they did have Chet and they did have Jay Will, right? So 3 meetings against the Thunder last year, 19-9 in 17 minutes. 9-9 in 25.5, so not great there, but a point and a rebound shy of this double-double. And then 19-15 in 26 minutes. So he's gone double-double against this team twice in his last 4. He's been a rebound shy in the other 2. And one of those double-doubles came in 18 minutes. Again, 19-9 in 17 minutes as well. So it's a small sample size, but I think that this number is my favorite when we're looking at Daniel Gafford, because I don't think that 1.48x is the accurate multiplier they should be giving us here. I would say in this matchup, considering no Lively and considering who is absent on the other side as well, this feels like a prop that should be like 1.2, 1.25, just given the game state, the situation here on both sides. So I think that's my favorite one here in terms of a plus 1x multiplier that I've seen so far this morning.
I like the double as well. I'm going to put in the PRA just because we've got a huge multiplier in the chamber that we'll talk about in the end on the NFL side that I think is pretty spectacular. So I'm just going to leave the baseline here, but I do agree with you. I think the double-double should be a lower multiplier. So that one is also strong. Reason why I like the PRA, by the way, is just because when you go to the Prize Picks tool, you'll see we lean over on rebounds, we lean over on assists, and we're way over on points. So as you kind of alluded to for a little bit there, I would be just as happy just taking the points, but I also think we can lean into the fact that we have leans on rebound and assist overs as well to just say, let's just go PRA. And look, if the double-double happens, pretty damn sure the PRA is going to go over. So where do you want to go next on the NBA side?
So I want to talk, before we get into Keontae over 4.5 first quarter points, I want to go to another, not just first quarter prop, but Victor Wembanyama. PRA in the first 5 minutes. Preston did point this out to us last time, and I believe it changed up to 6 while we were live. It's still 5.5 here this morning. So I did some more digging because that was not a prop that I had really been hadn't really been in my orbit. He's over in 8 straight here. There's just so many ways that Wemby contributes in that first, and even in a game against Denver when they played that kind of that home and home a week and a half ago. He got in foul trouble in that first game and played 3 minutes in the first quarter. Still over. The only time he's missed in the last 10 was against Brooklyn. And I was telling you before we went live, this is just my own anecdotal evidence here. So do not take this as gospel. The one time he went under, I thought the Spurs looked hungover as shit. After the Christmas game, they had stayed in New York City after playing the Knicks. They played the Nets on the 27th. And they started horrendously. Again, he's over in 9 of the last 10 and in 8 straight. I don't expect this to stay up that much longer. So I've been trying to put this in as many entries as I can here this morning because they got Memphis again. Huge pace up spot, 2.5 point spread, 239 implied total. This is my favorite pick this morning.
Yeah, this is really strong. Shout out to P-Buck. He's also in here saying Eubanks double-double 2.07x. So we're going to give him the credit for sure on this Wemby pick. Should we be looking at Eubanks as well?
Not for me. I was taking a look, and I think if you're just following the model, right, it does look like an advantageous prop. We haven't projected for a double-double, so I do think we should get this into some entries here this morning. I think the model might be a little bit hot on Eubank's outlook here, and we do have no Walker Kessler tonight, no Lauri Markkanen, no John Collins, but it's not like we are just empty behind Drew Eubanks. Like Kyle Filipowski is there, and I think maybe more importantly, Oscar Tshiebwe as well. So if this game blows out, I could totally see this split right now, which I believe we have 28 minutes for Eubanks and just 16 for Tshiebwe. I could see that being more like 24-22 if this game gets out of hand. And you look at the line here against the Pelicans tonight, the Pelicans are double-digit favorites. So that tells you a little bit about the quality of players available for Utah. Like they do have some of their main names like Keontae, Colin Sexton, both of those guys available in the backcourt tonight. But I think this is one that I have no issue playing. Drew Eubanks is just somebody I'm being a little bit cautious with this morning, especially in the DFS sense, because I think we have so many other good values on this slate.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you are trusting the projections, I brought this up the other day, but you can go to the NBA same game parlay tool and you can just put in points and rebounds and get an actual percentage for double-double. So we have him at a double-double 38.6% of the time in this matchup on this night. And we would probably need something along the lines of 32% to make this multiplier worth it. So if you're trusting the projections, this is very, very solid. If you are kind of doubting it, like it sounds like you are, Zach, there's still room to think we're too high on Eubanks and still think this is a good pick, but it gets a little bit dicey pretty quickly. So I think I'm with you that we're probably a little bit hot on him, but hey, if you are looking for some heavy multipliers and you just want to look on the NBA side, I do think this one is definitely worth a look. Anything else on the NBA side before we talk NFL?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that Eubanks talk with he's played 78 games 2 seasons ago, 75 games last year, 30 appearances this year. And of course, some of those outings, right, for a guy like Drew Eubanks are single digit type of rotations, but I think he has double-digit rebounds 7 times in 160 games. So again, that's one I just have a little bit more hesitation with. I did want to talk about the Keontae George over 1.5 first quarter points that Preston was talking about there. He is over that in 3 of his last 5. I guess I would ask Preston too, you're factoring in Colin Sexton being back, right? Because again, he was without Sexton last game, and I do think that helped contribute to him getting 6 shot attempts in his 9 minutes. He got to 8 points. So again, I don't hate that one at all. And when Preston comes in right off the rip with a first quarter prop, I think we'd be foolish at this point of the year to not at least take a second look, but it's not one that jumps off the page to me when I think about this situation, when I look at the projections, and when I look through his first quarter game log this season. I think I would rather take a shot on Eubanks at 2.07x if I'm just doing a 3-pick entry, with Gafford and with Wemby, or with DeJounte and with Wemby, because I'm keeping Wemby in all the 3-pick plays that I possibly can.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think one of the difficulties here with Keontae is that this team has been so inconsistent in terms of who's actually on the floor that it's just really, really tough to feel strongly about what the rotation is going to look like. And when you are making these first quarter picks, I do feel like you have to have a pretty strong sense of at least a floor of what his first quarter minutes are going to be. And I just don't have any clue, because it's not just looking at his minutes, it's looking at the rotation that they use on a game-to-game basis. Sometimes Sexton starts and plays 9 minutes, and then other games he leaves with 5 and comes back and plays the whole second quarter. So it's just been really, really difficult to figure out what they are going to do in the first quarter.
I do also have some interest. A guy, I don't have this in any entries yet, but Paolo Banchero, the Magic, in Boston tonight. So as you can imagine, massive dogs here, 14.5 point road underdogs, just a 213 implied total. But I'm looking at first quarter Paolo points. It's set at 6.5. We've got that 1x multiplier there. If they offered us a PRA prop for the first quarter, I may be more interested in that. But I think this points prop looks pretty strong because we know no Franz Wagner, no Jalen Suggs. And so it is a tough matchup, but the minutes are there. He's been just below 9 and then closer to 10 in the last 2 games. Of course, he's been back for 3 on this minutes restriction, but like getting 9+ minutes in the first quarter against anybody for Paolo with no Franz and with no Jalen Suggs, like Cole Anthony is back in the starting lineup, but I just think he's got all the usage in the world here. And if you take, again, just 8 games so far on the season for Paolo, he's over this number in 5 of the 8, and 2 times he had 5 points. Those were both in the minutes restricted games, the first 2 coming back here. So this is one, again, it's not a windmill slam for me, but I could see this being one of those secondary plays that I cycle through. And if I do that, I will go to the Pick'em Games channel and let everybody know. I'm in a childish mood today. I'll throw it back to you. Let's talk about some of these NFL picks.
Well, before we do, I do want to point out one more blocks plus steals pick here. It is a low multiplier, 0.92x, but Jaren Jackson over 2.5, really, really strong. We've got him projected at 3.5. He's been over 2.5 a ton in his last 15 games or so. There was a point, I want to say maybe a month ago, where we were talking about Jaren Jackson, like, hey, what happened to his stocks? They're down. And we pointed to the fact that, remember that scandal where we found in home games, he was getting way too many stocks, and it was clearly user error on the scorekeeper's part. But ever since then, the stocks have been back like crazy for him. So again, we have him projected at 3.5. Decent stocks matchup here. Not great, not bad. And I just think this is at 0.92x. It's not one that I want to throw in a ton, but when we have some high multipliers and you just need something that's likely to hit, I do think it's a very good one to add.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense for me. And again, with you, if I'm putting it in with the Gafford double-double or maybe the Eubanks double-double or anything else, right, we're going to talk about a +1 multiplier pick or a couple of them here. I'm totally fine with that. And it is a great matchup for him on the other side of this Spurs and Memphis game.
All right, the huge multiplier. I already liked this one because of what he has done this season. He has 5 games with a longest rush over 50 yards. Also has multiple 50-yard runs in, I think, 2 games. So he's racked up these 50-yarders like crazy. But now, one of the things I've been doing this morning is kind of running through all our NFL projections and kind of figuring out what I need to tweak and what I can leave based on weather concerns, because it does look like we're going to get snow in this Philadelphia game. Now, snow has a number of effects, but one thing that we see beyond a shadow of a doubt in snow games is explosive runs. Remember that Buffalo game against San Francisco earlier this season? James Cook breaks off a 65-yard touchdown. Why do we see so many long runs in the snow? Because when footing is bad, it very much benefits the guy who knows where he wants to go and hurts the guy who's trying to react. And we just see guys slip all the time. If there's one safety back ready to make the tackle, and it's a tackle he's going to make 80% of the time, but now there's like a 30% chance that he just slips and falls, guess what? The chance that it's a long run is going to go way, way, way up. So we see these explosive runs a ton in the snow. I like this number, even if you take that variable out. So over 39.5 at 3.68x is good. Over 49.5 at 7.03x is fantastic for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we also can go back to the end of the game last week, right, where Saquon laid down, and maybe that defensive back catches up to him at the end of the play there. But he was right on the verge of breaking a 50+ yard run with the last play we saw last week. So I do think that is a great find by you, and one that we can ladder all the way up this weekend.
Yeah, it's also worth noting, if we took out, let's say, Gafford, and we just want to make this a 3-pick play, I mean, we're talking 6x to 42x. This is really, really strong, and I'm going to do this quite a bunch. Already have some in with Saquon, but I'm going to add, and I'm definitely using these NBA picks, particularly the Wemby and the DeJounte, which I think are probably 65 to 70% picks. I'll be using these two for sure. Might even do a round robin laddered with Gafford. Maybe I'll throw in the Jaren Jackson stocks as well, since we think that one's really strong. And look, if we take Wemby out and we go to those, and we go to Jaren Jackson and we take on the 0.92x, you think, oh man, that really is going to crater the payout, right? Well, because we get this 7x, this is still going to be 39x for just a 3-pick play. So definitely we'll have Jaren included as well. Might do a round robin with those 3 NBA picks all combined with Saquon Barkley. But just like you said, I will post in the channel once I figure out exactly how I want to play these.
Is for the Millie tonight with Two Gun? When are you guys blasting off with that?
Yeah, for the Millie, 5:30 today, and it is going to be free today. We're going to talk some contest sims. We'll talk just general strategy on the 4-game slate, how to use late swap. We'll talk some props, so probably we'll mention Saquon once again. Also having doing a DraftKings live stream in the DraftKings Discord channel if anyone wants to check that out, and I'll be on Sirius in about 20 minutes.
Yes, sir. We love to see it. Do you want to head out so you can get ready for that? I can just go ahead and handle our DFS talk here.
Yeah, that works. Catch you guys later, and let's get some big hits tonight.
Awesome. See you, Alex. And we'll see Alex back, of course, on the channel later this evening for the Millie. And I will go ahead and get my screen share up here now. Wrong button. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about this slate. We've got our ownership projections and GPP scores page pulled up. See what we've got here. We'll sort by GPP score first, and good God, Drew Eubanks. Like I said earlier, when Preston brought up Eubanks, I really think the model is a little bit hot here. You see, though, the field, of course, a quarter of the field right now rostering Drew Eubanks. We've got him projected for north of 30 DK points. So in 28 minutes, you can absolutely play him. I very much disagree with the GPP score there at 40. That is kind of off the charts, an anomaly of sorts. So I think we've got some adjusting to do. And you see Oscar Tshiebwe right behind him, 0.1% owned. I would rather Tshiebwe, I think, at this point, like if I'm just trying to get different down there. But Utah front court is not the only place where we can get value here tonight. So I think I would be surprised if Eubanks held that much ownership by the time we get to lock. Because, of course, we have news in the balance as well. Still waiting on that Thunder injury report, too. You see, on the Oklahoma City side of things, I agree with the model. I had it right here in my notes that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a great spend up. You see at the lower end of salary things there with Jalen Williams. Jalen with a Y, right? J-Will. J-Dub is the good Jalen Williams. Jalen, J-Will, Jalen with a Y is the backup center. He is also still pretty strong to me here. Like, I know he failed last night. It was like 13.5 DK or something like that against the Cavs. But going up against Dallas here, I think he is also very strong. And you see the ownership has come down. He was like 60+% yesterday, just 18% on this 9-game slate. So definitely not going overlooked, but I think still a strong value in tournaments. Model agrees here. And you see LaMelo was in my placeholder. Nikola Jokic, he is questionable again with that elbow injury going up against the Heat in South Beach tonight. The Heat are 1-point favorites. Jimmy Butler is off the injury report there, so who knows what the hell happens with that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him not play. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out there and, I don't know, shoot everything left-handed, like play with an arm behind his back. I don't know what's going to happen there. But the Heat are favored by 1. So I've leaned slightly towards Jokic sitting here tonight. But we'll see. And that is an 8 p.m. game. So we have one at 7. That is Orlando and Boston. Not a ton of interest from a fantasy perspective. There you can see the model with single-digit owned Jason Tatum, giving him some love in the tournament scores. Same with Kristaps Porzingis. But those guys are low owned for a reason. And you know, Boston kind of shapes up as like a max 1 type of spot to me on this slate. Given that game environment, then you only have one at 7:30. So the meat of this slate really gets started at 8. So we will have that Jokic news. So again, with a guy like Nikola Jokic questionable on this slate, everything can and likely will change between now and lock in about 6 hours. One big piece of news that we do have already is Dante DiVincenzo being out tonight for the Timberwolves. And the Wolves are in New York here tonight. So this is really disappointing, I guess, from my perspective as a basketball fan, like wanting to flip on this game here tonight. I talked about on the fast break yesterday with Fife that I think it's pretty crazy that this game is not nationally televised. Like, I understand that schedule was made and finalized before that cat trade went down, but we can flex games like shorthanded Magic and the Celtics. I don't know, man. I might want to watch the Wolves and the Knicks in the Garden, but we won't have Dante DiVincenzo making his return to MSG. But with him going out, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley. I'm kind of surprised that Mike Conley is as low owned as he is, because at 3,500, he is one of the best plays on the slate right now at that ownership. Like, am I overly excited to get Mike Conley into all of my lineups in January 2025? No, but if he's going to get back to mid to upper 20s in minutes here tonight with no DiVincenzo, it's a tough matchup. I get it, but they're also just 5-point dogs here. 218.5 implied total is not great, but something you should expect from these two teams. And Conley is still a guy, like, he has fallen off from last year where I believe he was still right around a DK point per minute. He is well enough below that figure now, where, again, this is not, you lock him into 150 and just forget about it. But at that ownership, 25%, 26% on this slate, you see all these guys. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is at 60. And I get why he would be more popular, especially at this point in the morning with the guard forward eligibility. You can play both of those guys. Both of them made it into my placeholder last night on DraftKings. But Mike Conley, to me, especially relative to some of these other players, like Lu Dort, Mark Williams, 6,800, not nearly the same pricing tier, but like, there are so many centers on this slate. So 27% for Mark Williams. Kyle Filipowski at 4,200. He just doesn't really have a minutes ceiling. So I really like Mike Conley. Slight positive GPP score there. I think he's under-owned even at 26%. Oklahoma City, I mentioned, right? Shorthanded OKC against shorthanded Dallas. SGA, great tournament play. I think J-Dub, and you can see he is the guy behind Lu Dort, so he's fifth in the ownership projections at 27% at 8K, power forward only. Very, very strong play. Again, the model likes getting up to SGA, but we also have a pretty nice menu of spend-ups here tonight, and I think just on paper, before diving more into this slate, of course, as we do leading up to lock, LaMelo Ball, they're 4-point dogs, 4.5-point dogs in Chicago, 235.5 implied total. I think I prefer LaMelo to SGA. The model would prefer SGA to LaMelo in these large field tournaments. So I think you can't really go wrong there, I don't think. But I lean to LaMelo. LaMelo also with a strong GPP score, just not quite to the level of SGA. And if we search by value, sort by value rather, see Eubanks pop up, Shibwe, right? SGA up there near the top. Wendell Carter Jr. too, to mention like some more centers where like I'm a little bit confused on why, like Nick Richards is gone. I get it. One note that I think is important in terms of that Mark Williams minutes upside is we now have a Q tag on Moussa Diabate, who would have a higher minutes ceiling than a guy like Taj Gibson backing up Mark Williams. So I love Mark Williams, especially you guys that tune into, the preseason content with the best ball streams and the ranks and such. I love me some Mark Williams. But 6,800 on a slate like this where we have so many value centers, at Wendell Carter Jr. is 4,300. Hell, Daniel Gafford. Where's Gafford at? I'm just going to search for Gafford. Looks like he's not showing up, so I will get with the back-end guys and figure out why he is excluded at this point. But he's, 5,500? Against the Thunder? We talked about how well he's done in this matchup over the last season, over the last 4. I like Gafford at 5,500 as well. I think that's kind of my notes here so far today. Look at what FanDuel's spitting out. Probably not a ton different there. Shibwe 3,600. That is a very, very tough sell for me. It still is on DraftKings, but like even more on FanDuel, where I only get one center spot. I don't know. I don't know about that. You know, Eubanks is 4,200. 74% owned. But I think I would, you know, if I'm going to a Utah center on FanDuel, I think I'll just take Eubanks for 600 more. SGA, great GPP score over there as well. It likes Jokic at 12.8, and we should have enough value here to make that feasible, to get up to nearly 13K for Jokic with your one center spot. Mark Williams, 7,200 there. I may like him a little bit more over there on FanDuel. Tatum, Morant. John Morant is questionable. So, like, we could be taking a closer look at Memphis if we get news on that before lock. You know, maybe we're getting to some cheaper Scottie Pippen Jr., something like that. I think that'll do it here. And Filipowski with the power forward center eligibility, 83% owned on FanDuel. I think those numbers come down throughout the day. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 3,900, guard forward eligible, 48% owned. Conley just 28%, he's 4,100. Like them both over there in FanDuel as well. Bryce Sensabaugh, 5,200. I think that ownership is well worth it. Desmond Bane, 7,300, 35% owned already, but guard forward eligible if Ja was out. That number will come up, but Bane would be even stronger. So again, 9 games tonight. I believe just 7 of them on DraftKings, though. Right? We lop off the last 2. So on DraftKings, on the main slate, you're not messing with Wemby. You're not messing with a questionable Ja and the Memphis Grizzlies. You're not messing with Brooklyn and the Lakers. But on FanDuel, you can get there. Like Wemby at 12K, I think is worth it in this matchup. You know, they're still shorthanded. Stephon Castle. I still maintain that we should not expect this type of offensive output from the rookie. Setting new career highs in back-to-back games, 23 and 26 respectively, but he's playing well. And he will continue to start, 5,200 there on FanDuel. And if Ja was out too, $5,300 Scottie Pippen. Would still probably prefer a guy like Bane in that situation. That'll do it for me, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here on the Friday edition of the Daily Dime. We're back Monday, same time, same place. Again, 5:30 p.m. Eastern today. It's free on the channel for the Millie. Alex Blickle and Two Gun breaking down this weekend slate from a DFS perspective and talking some props as well. On your way out, especially if you're watching here on the YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like this video. It helps us grow the show, helps us grow FTN. If you're watching over there on Twitter, right, repost the stream, follow FTN Fantasy, or you can hop over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and hit the like button. Appreciate you guys doing that every single day, hitting that thumbs up. And I will see all of our subscribers throughout the afternoon leading up to lock of this slate in the Discord. And see the rest of you here on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. I'll do the same. See you back here on Monday. Goodbye.